Before you give up, listen to this. There's a storm in your mind, a weight on your chest, and a silence in your prayers. You've tried to stay strong. You've tried to smile through it. But deep down, you're tired. Tired of being strong for everyone else. Tired of fighting silent battles no one sees. Tired of waiting for a breakthrough that hasn't come. Maybe your faith is shaking. Maybe life has handed you more pain than peace. And maybe, just maybe, you're wondering if God is even still listening. But what if I told you that the very thing you're walking through right now, the tears, the loneliness, the pressure, is not the end of your story? Because hidden in the ancient songs of Psalms are divine messages, not just of survival, but of supernatural strength. These aren't just poems, these are battle cries, promises, lifelines from heaven. Today, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to speak directly to your spirit, the part of you that's still holding on. Because your story is not over, and God is not finished with you yet. Let's dive into 5 life-altering verses from the book of Psalms. Verses that carried warriors, kings, and ordinary broken people through fire. And they'll carry you too. Join Bible Breakdown, where we bring Bible stories to life through powerful cinematic storytelling. Number 1, Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. This verse isn't just a poetic comfort, it's divine positioning. It's not a nice quote for a coffee mug or something to hang on your wall. This is a revelation of God's exact location when pain hits your life. It tells us something radical. God doesn't retreat from pain, he rushes into it. You see, when most people see you broken, they pull back. When your smile fades and your strength crumbles, even those closest to you might not know what to say, and some will simply walk away. But not God. He moves in closer. When the weight of the world crushes your spirit, when grief wraps itself around your chest, when anxiety sits heavy on your shoulders, when heartbreak leaves you speechless in the dark, God leans in. Why? Because he specializes in restoration. He doesn't run from mess, he redeems it. He doesn't avoid the shattered, he restores the shattered. Think about this, the same God who created galaxies, who paints sunsets, who controls time, is magnetically drawn to the parts of you that are falling apart. You don't have to hide your tears. You don't have to stitch your soul together before you pray. God doesn't require a performance. He meets you in the raw, unrehearsed honesty of your pain. This verse destroys the lie that says, I have to get myself together before I can come to God. No, it's your brokenness that calls him near. It's not your perfection that draws him, it's your pain. In a culture obsessed with image, that rewards polished perfection and Instagram filters, Psalm 34:18 flips the narrative and says, God blesses the real, God blesses the raw, God blesses the wrecked. And in those low places, in those private, tear-soaked nights when no one else knows what you're carrying, God is not just aware, he is there. He doesn't just sympathize with your wounds. He brings healing. He doesn't just observe your pain. He reaches in and pulls you out. This verse is not just comfort, it's a promise, a guarantee. When your heart is broken and your spirit is crushed, you are never abandoned. You are never invisible. You are seen, you are loved. You are held by the God who draws near. So if you're listening to this, and you feel like your life is shattered into pieces, remember this. God is closer than your breath, and he's already working on your rescue. Let him into the broken place, because that's where healing begins. Number 2, Psalm 23:4. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. David didn't say if I walk through the valley, he said even though. That means valleys are part of the journey. You can love God and still face shadows. You can pray every day and still feel fear try to grip your chest. But here's the difference. You're not alone in that valley. God never promised you wouldn't face darkness, but he promised you'd never face it without him. And in that shadow, where the enemy wants to whisper fear, you declare faith, I will fear no evil. Because God is not outside the valley, he walks through it with you. Modern translation. When anxiety grips your chest, when depression fogs your mind, when loss knocks the breath out of your lungs, you do not walk alone. He's there and he's not leaving. Number 3, Psalm 91:1-2. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. This is more than just a verse. This is a blueprint for survival, a spiritual GPS to help you navigate storms when life becomes too much to handle. This world is loud, the noise of social media, the headlines, the pressure, the fear, the constant alerts that ring louder than peace. It can be deafening. But Psalm 91 doesn't say, he who scrolls, or he who reacts, or even he who visits. It says, he who dwells in the secret place. Let that sink in. This isn't a place you visit when it's convenient. It's not your emergency contact when everything falls apart. It's the place you live from. It's your dwelling, your sanctuary, your stronghold. The secret place isn't a building. It's not confined to a church, a tabernacle, or a temple. No, it's a place in the spirit. It's that quiet, sacred space where your heart meets God's heart, where your tears aren't judged, where your fears aren't silenced, but are met with divine strength. In modern terms, it's when you shut the door to everything that's screaming at you. The expectations, the deadlines, the bills, the pain. And you fall to your knees, not with polished prayers, but with raw surrender. It's not about perfect words. It's about real presence. You don't have to come in bold. You just have to come in real. Because when you dwell, when you make it your daily dwelling, your rhythm, your breath, something supernatural begins to happen. You come under the shadow of the Almighty. Not a distant God, not a passive force, but the Almighty, the one who parts seas, calms storms, shuts the mouths of lions. And under his shadow, you're no longer exposed. You're no longer vulnerable. You're no longer defenseless, because that shadow becomes your shield. That presence becomes your protection. That secret place becomes your strategy. He is my refuge and my fortress. Refuge doesn't mean escape. It means covering. It means while the storm may still rage around you, it will not consume you. It means while others are panicking, you have peace. While others are sinking, you're standing. Not because you're strong, but because he is your fortress. And a fortress isn't built overnight. It's a structure designed to withstand war. When you dwell in him, you're not hiding from reality. You're rising in security. My God in whom I trust. That's not a passive hope. That's a bold declaration. It's not, I think he'll help. It's, I know he's holding me. So what do you do when the world shakes? You don't panic. You don't run to people. You run to the secret place. And when you get there, you stay. You dwell, you abide. Because that's where peace is. That's where clarity comes. That's where breakthrough begins. That's where the presence of God covers you like a fortress, and no weapon formed against you can prosper. Number 4, Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Did you catch that? A very present help. Not distant, not delayed, not stuck in the clouds waiting for a perfect prayer. Very present right now, right here. This verse isn't a metaphor, it's a mirror of your moment. When everything falls apart, when the job doesn't come through, when the friends disappear, when your own strength gives out, God says, I'm here, I'm your backup. I'm your strength when yours runs out. We don't serve a God who watches from the sidelines. We serve a warrior, God who steps into the battlefield, takes the hit and still stands victorious. Number 5, Psalm 121:1-2. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. This is not just a question, it's a cry from the soul. A question born in the middle of confusion, desperation, and human limitation. Where does my help come from? It's the question we all whisper when the bills stack up, when the relationship falls apart, when the diagnosis hits, when the future feels like a fog. This verse isn't asking out of curiosity, it's asking out of exhaustion. When your back is against the wall, and there's nothing left in your hands but tears. David doesn't say, I looked down. He doesn't say, I looked around. He says, I lift up my eyes. There's a decision to be made in that moment of chaos. You can stare at the mountain, or you can look past it. You can stay stuck in the problem, or you can shift your gaze to the promise. David lifts his eyes past what's threatening him, past the hills, because help doesn't come from the hills. Help comes from the one who created them, the maker of heaven and earth. Let that settle in your spirit. Not just the king, not just the redeemer, but the maker, the one who carved galaxies with his breath, the one who shaped mountains, oceans, and your very DNA. He is not just a responder, he is the originator. If he made it, he can heal it. If he allowed it, he can use it. If he spoke the stars into existence, he can whisper peace into your storm. And here's the revelation. Your help is not pending. It's present. It's not on the way, it's already here. God doesn't send help like a courier. He is the help. He's not delayed. He's not distracted. He's not confused about your location. Right now, in your chaos, in your conflict, in your questions, he is your help, a present help in times of trouble, a mighty God in times of weakness. So let me ask you something real. Are you willing to believe again? Not because the circumstances are perfect, not because you're strong, but because God is still God, and he's not done with your story. Psalm after psalm, verse after verse, line after line. God reveals his heart not for the perfect, but for the broken, the tired, the desperate, the faithful few who still dare to trust. These psalms weren't written in luxury. They were written in caves, in deserts, in pits, and in palaces. They were born in fire, forged in tears, written in blood and worship. These aren't just nice words on ancient pages. These are your survival tools. These are your battle weapons. These are your midnight prayers, your morning declarations, your noonday shields. So today, lift your head, even if it trembles, even if it's heavy with worry, lift it. Wipe your tears, not because you're ignoring the pain, but because you're making room for promise. Speak these verses aloud. Don't just read them. Declare them like war cries over your home, your mind, your children, your job, your health. Because let me remind you, God is not watching you drown. He is walking you through, and what feels like the end is actually the edge of breakthrough. This isn't the grave. This is the groaning before the glory. This is not your final chapter. This is the beginning of your resurrection story. Faith isn't about pretending things are perfect. Faith is knowing that God is perfect, even when life is not. So hold on, hold firm, hold faith, because from these Psalms, you will rise. Amen.